One of my friends who's a doctoral student at a very prestigious school phoned me in a panic one day and said the opening day of his lecture, this professor looked at them across the class and he said, the goal of this class is to knock any idea of God that some of you may have within you. And if you happen to be a believer in God, you're better off getting up and walking out right now, because my course is designed to knock any idea of God within any one of your minds. It can happen either very seductively, it can happen in a very subtle way, or it can happen very brazenly. I can tell you something very plain here, and I want you to follow me. Listen carefully, please. The fact of the matter is that science has not disproved the existence of God. Science has not established naturalism as a justifiable posture for origins. You will read and find out again and again that which is espoused by atheists on university campuses who are professors espouse that atheism not because of the science that has led them to believe it, but because of a pre-commitment to a philosophy of life. This is the whole point that Philip Johnson, professor at Berkeley, makes in his books, Darwin on Trial and Reason in the Balance. He said there's an undergirding philosophy that drives the secular scientific worldview, where science is sort of made into that which it was never intended to be. Let me give you a couple of illustrations of this. I'd finished a series of lectures at Princeton University. The place was packed to capacity, and my whole talk was to challenge atheism and defend the Christian gospel. The questions were there in very hostile form and antagonistic form, and yet the students returned for lecture after lecture and applauded and received what was given. On that last night, one student stood up in front of this packed audience and he said this to me. He said, Mr. Zacharias, I brought two of my atheistic friends here last night for the lecture, and they had come prepared to challenge anything you'd said. As we were walking away, I said to one of them, why didn't you ask the questions you said you were going to ask? There was silence in the stillness of the night, and then he looked back at this Christian who'd invited them and said, the arguments were too persuasive to counter. And then he paused and said this, even though the arguments were too persuasive, I am still remaining a convinced atheist. He said, what do you have to say to my friend? I said it to him in the opening line of my lecture last night, that my goal is to try and demonstrate to you that if you are an atheist, it is not for intellectual reasons, but for moral reasons. There's a pre-commitment. Aldous Huxley in 1946 said this, I want this world not to have meaning. I want this world not to have meaning because it frees me to my own erotic pursuits. Think of all of the grandeur that God has poured into this universe, all of the specified complexity, the marvelous design that is there. Wasn't it not Carl Sagan, while he was still professor at Cornell, who made this astounding comment? He said, if we can get only one intelligent message from outer space, we'll know there is intelligent life out there. If we can get only one intelligent message. Did Carl Sagan not pause to think for a moment that one strand of human DNA has 600,000 pages of information? One strand of human DNA, 600,000 pages of information. Think of that. The marvelous design